Hi, welcome to the Binmin podcast. We know that the Christian life can be hard to figure out, but we also believe everyone should know the next step for making their Christian life more important to them. I'm Pops.
I'm Dave.
I'm Libby.
And I'm Bob.
Today, we're going to ask the question, or answer the question actually, do I really need a church?
You do if you're not a Binmin TikTok subscriber. I mean, I figure you get through about 30, 40 of those suckers. You're churched.
Yeah, right.
It's the same thing.
That's true. I don't know. Sounds pretty good to me. I mean, and then brunch, right? We
Yeah,
gotta
then
have brunch.
100%.
I definitely could go for French toast right now.
Yeah.
I will not lie about that. Yeah.
Well, can I interrupt and just ask a silly question? I'm going to aim this question at you, Bob.
The
as a
sillier,
pastor.
the better.
Good. Why don't you define for us what we mean by church?
That is not a silly question, so rest assured. And I will tell you why. Because, I think once that we kind of get an idea of what a church is, I personally think it's going to be pretty hard to push back saying, like, I shouldn't be a part of it.
Okay.
So
that's fairly intriguing.
Oh, thank you.
But you still haven't answered my question.
All right, cool. Well, let's do it. Drum roll, please. Our audio engineers is going to hate us doing that, so we don't have to do that. But the local church is a group of Jesus followers under Jesus' leaders who gather to worship Jesus, help each other follow Jesus, and share Jesus with the world. So let me say that one more time. The local church is a group of Jesus followers under Jesus' leaders who gather to worship Jesus, help each other follow Jesus, and share Jesus with the world. So yeah, there's a lot there. There's more that can be said, but I think just notice about the church, like Christians gather to worship, they help each other, and they share Jesus.
All right. 3 important points, right? Why are they particularly important?
Well, I think for our conversation, because like the last two, they could happen outside of a formal gathering, but the first one can't. Christians are called to gather together, and maybe that's the big word that'll help us today. I was helped by 1 Corinthians chapter 14, which is a really crazy chapter. It like has some really weird bonkers stuff about how Christians like use their spiritual gifts in worship services. But the part that stuck out to me was this little verse in verse 26 of 1 Corinthians 14, when it simply says, when you come together. Not if you come together, but when you come together. So Christians gather together. Church, right?
Great. Libby, let me ask you, do I need a church?
Well, I think we should maybe pause and zoom out a little bit and not concentrate on the you. It's like all Christians. I mean, the last 2,000 years, the church and people of the church have been gathering together just to be together, to worship together and participate in ordinances. So think like the Lord's Supper and baptism. It's been happening for literally thousands of years. And to hear the word proclaimed. So we need this time, and we've seen it be beneficial for years and years and thousands of years, and we're commanded not to ignore it. And not only that, it's pretty clear in the Bible. It says it directly in Hebrews 10:25, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some. So it's even pointing out like some people don't do this, but meeting together to encourage one another, all the more as the day is drawing near. So so important.
Yeah. I mean, definitely convicting. I feel like throughout my life, I've lived in about 20 different places and been to a bunch of different churches. And I think there is definitely a temptation to just meet Jesus in the Bible or bedside Baptist it, you know? Like growing up, I went to a 1,000-person Baptist church in the Midwest, then went to a really sincere Anglican Catholic church in Southern California, then to a smaller, elderly Anglo-Catholic church in Denver, then to a non-denominational suburban Midwestern church again, like, and throughout all those ups and downs and some scars and baggage, like all sorts of things, but like the central call is exactly that. It's, you know, the church isn't made for us, we're made for the church. You know, it's part parcel of being a Christian is to be part of his body.
Yeah. Okay, can I just ask you a question? Because as we're filming this, we are post-COVID. Can't I just continue to worship online, or just really go to worship whenever I feel like it, Dave?
I mean, I think I would just recontextualize, and not to be overly harsh, but you can't do church wholly by yourself. And it's not, like I'm alluding, it's not just you being able to go and serve other people or greet at the door or go be a deacon or do whatever, but other people also don't get to experience you. So if we are a mosaic, if we are the body of Christ with different members, one's the eye and the ear and the toe and the finger and all that, like if Bob only ever worships at home online, I never get his fingerness, which sometimes I need in my Christian life. So there's never an intersection of the body. It's never actually gathering. And then suddenly, I mean, you all know how anti-consumerist I am. I'm just kidding. Like, but it becomes this consumeristic thing. Like, no. I'm just going to go and shop and get what I want emotionally or spiritually or whatever, and have given nothing and have been a part of nothing and have been participated in or have been known by nobody. Sought out as anyway, I could keep preaching, but I won't. But just that saying, no.
Well, and it's like, it's too hard to just hide behind a screen, because then people can't kind of see and be a real part of my life, right? If I'm just watching online.
Yeah.
Unless you have Apple Vision Pro, in which case maybe, I mean.
How many directions have you seen in my life? Yeah.
That's funny. And I just want to talk about serving too. Like that is such a huge part of your church experience. I love serving. I think I serve in like 5 different areas: hospitality, greeting, ushering, membership. I just love people. So
you do.
It's a part of it. But I think if it wasn't there, it means that I couldn't be serving others. Like I wouldn't be able to serve the lady who can't hear and needs help getting to her seat. And I'm robbing someone of that if I'm not present. So I think, is it Romans 12? I think in 5. So it says, we, though many, are one body in Christ, and individually members one of another. So I'm not gonna say, sorry guys, the left hand's not interested, I'm staying in bed watching from online, you're good. Sorry, see you next time maybe. So
Well, I want to speak, and Libby, I'm going to ask you particularly because you really do love to interact with people. Folks that are Christians as well as folks that are non-Christian. That is just your bailiwick. How do you respond to someone who might say to you, look, I have really been hurt by the church. I've been burnt by a church. I just don't want to go back.
yeah, I think that is a huge topic that a lot of us run into increasingly more and more, and probably maybe could be a whole episode at some point. But I think generally speaking, that everyone's story is a little bit different potentially. But ultimately, I think the question we have to ask is, are we looking to people? Because so often the hurt comes from people, or are we looking to God? And that like kind of gets to the heart of it and is the start of that, figuring out why have they left or why is there hurt.
I do feel like the church experience is the same as the Christian experience. Like, well, you don't become a Christian and expect life to be painless and flawless and easy and simple. You don't join a church because you're expecting to be around 100% incredible, sinless, perfect people. Like, I promise you, if you are known by a church and know a church, you will be hurt by that church because you're engaging other people, sinful, broken people who also are in dire need, and they don't get it right all the time. And candidly, I mean, Jesus himself is gentle and lowly in heart. He promises that his steadfast love will never abandon us, but it doesn't do you any good to be away from his people, to be away from the church. That will not give you life. That will not bring you closer to him by staying away from his people that you were made to be with.
Yeah, man, I hear that. And like, I'll just say too, so as a pastor, right, like as a church leader too, I think there are a few things that I feel more burdened or heartbroken about than men and women who just say, I've experienced really unhealthy leaders who really hurt me, who burned me, who made bad decisions, or other people in the church who I'm really legitimately injured by, not just because I'm overly sensitive, but like they did wrong, they did sinful stuff against me, and that hurts. And I hate that. I hate that reality of the church. So I think maybe I would just mention one more thing though, and that is not every church is the same. I, of course, have to acknowledge that there are leaders out there, there are churches out there that are not functioning in a healthy way. They're not living out the New Testament principles of what we're supposed to do with one another or how leaders are supposed to lead. But I also don't think every church is the same. I remember sitting across kind of a breakfast table at a local restaurant with a guy who had gotten really hurt by a kind of a younger mega church that he had been a part of. And I just looked at him and I said, man, like, you know what I would love for you? I would love for you to find a really small little church in town with like all 70-year-olds and just heal up for a year.
Just be loved on.
Just
Right.
be loved on and realize, like, hey, that is not every church, right?
Yeah,
That is
a lot
not
of
every
casseroles.
church is going to give you that exact same experience of, right, yeah, of what you just had and kind of be able to heal up. So plus, yes, maybe have some intentional counsel or counseling, maybe have some intentional mentoring, right? So don't miss out on that. If church hurt is part of your story, get some counsel, get some mentoring, like be loved on. This is going to look different, as you said, Libby. It'll look different for different people, but give God a chance to use his presence and use his people to heal you.
Yeah, I almost don't want to end this episode. But Bob, could you give us a call to action? What's our next step?
What's your next step? Get one step more committed to your church. So for some of us watching or listening, you're already involved in your church. So how might God be asking you to take one step deeper? Maybe becoming a member or getting into a group or starting to give financially. Pray and ask God what it is and then go ahead, go for it. Take that next step. For some of you guys, you're just not really committed to one church yet. So now's the time. Pray through the church or the churches that you've been checking out and take one step to get committed to one of them. Say to yourself, unless something crazy happens, I'm going to be here every Sunday and I am all in. Let us know one thing that you like about your church because we would love to hear it on the comments here or in our socials. We always love hearing from you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Libby. And thank you, Dave. And thank you for joining us for this episode of the Binmin podcast. We know that the Christian life can be hard to figure out, but we also believe that everyone should know their next step for making their Christian life more important to them. Binmin is a resource ministry dedicated to helping you discover those next steps.
Yeah, that's right. So your next step might actually be going to binmin.org and checking out the show notes and blogs and other resources that are there. A lot of things that you can share. Also, best place to sign up for the newsletter so you can find out what's going on with Binmin in a really simple way that comes and finds you, so you don't have to go hound and find all the things that are happening over here. Social media is also a really great place to follow us and get more bite-sizable versions of this, and that you can share a lot easier. So for this conversation, we appreciate you joining us and listening a little deeper about the relationship you might have with the church, and we appreciate you being a part of that conversation. So until next time, we'll look forward to it. God bless.